Okay. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for attending this webinar from BFC on the theme Innovation for Rural Finance. My name is Etienne Mottet. I'm Business and Innovation Analyst for BFC, and I'm working from Kyrgyzstan in Central Asia. So for the one who don't know Kyrgyzstan, a little reminder. So Kyrgyzstan is a country from former USSR of 6 million people located between Kazakhstan, China, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, and Tajikistan. So for the one who don't know, Kyrgyzstan is a very rural country. So this is the type of landscape you find in Kyrgyzstan. So the north of the country is very rural with a very nomadic style of living, while the south is a bit more sedentary, but overall, more than 70% of the population lives in rural areas. And the question I will try to address today is, can mobile wallet technology become a vector of innovation for rural finance in Kyrgyzstan? So through my duties, I had to study this question. So what did I start by doing to try to answer this? I started looking at what is commonly acknowledged as success story in terms of mobile wallet. So I looked at the situation in Kenya, which is known to be a country where mobile wallet has been quite successful. And I compared the Kenyan situation with Kyrgyzstan to see in what way we could expect mobile wallet to help rural development in Kyrgyzstan. So first, before we get started, I would like to look in detail at a mobile wallet in Kenya. So here we have a few figures about the development of mobile banking in African countries. So on the chart on the right side, you can see a comparison of financial inclusion in different countries in Africa. And you see the proportion due to mobile money. So you can see here in Kenya that this is the country in Africa where mobile money has the biggest impact in financial inclusion. So this is this part you can see in light blue here. And most of you probably know that mobile money in Africa is mainly due to one main actor, which is M-Pesa, which is a most spreaded mobile banking system used in Africa, started by the telecom company Safaricom. So I wondered, why was M-Pesa so successful in Kenya? So basically, I did a bit of research, mainly on internet. I talked with some people who've been in contact with the Kenyan context, have been using M-Pesa. And it came out that there were 5 main parameters which helped making M-Pesa successful. First one being the high mobile penetration in the country. Second being the low financial inclusion. Third, the monopoly situation Safaricom was benefiting from when they started the initiative M-Pesa. The big advertisement and massive territory coverage of Safaricom and M-Pesa consequently. And the last parameters is that M-Pesa was well supported by regulators. So what I propose you to do is to take each of these parameters and compare the Kenyan situation with the Kyrgyz situation. So starting by the mobile penetration. Meanwhile, I forgot to say, if you have any type of question, please write them through the chat and we will be answering them at the end of the presentation. So mobile penetration, its definition is the number of mobile cellular subscriptions for 100 people. So according to World Bank figures, this is of 71 for 100 in Kenya in 2014, and in Kyrgyzstan it's actually 124 in 2014. This means that mobile penetration is actually really excellent in Kyrgyzstan. So on that aspect, we have a good point for Kyrgyzstan. Then low financial inclusion. So again, what is the level of bank account penetration in the country? So in Kenya, if we exclude mobile wallets, we have 53% of adults and 50% of women having bank account. And if you focus on the 40% poorest household, this figure goes around 15%. If you look at Kyrgyzstan, these figures are even lower. You have 18% of adults with bank account, 19% of women, and 15% if you look at poorest households. So this to say that on financial inclusion side, there is as well a fertile environment for development of mobile banking. Now let's look at the market situation. So In Kenya, as I said already, basically Safaricom benefited from an almost monopoly situation. When they started M-Pesa, they actually had 75% of market share on the telco market in Kenya. And yeah, let's really emphasize this, the fact that it's a telco initiative, which is actually quite important to point out. Why? Because when we look at situation in Kyrgyzstan, we have 4 actors already, which are the following. One of them is actually bank-driven, this Elsam here, and the others are somehow independent initiatives. They've not been started by telco or by any bank. So here we see a situation pretty much different between Kenya and Kyrgyzstan. Next aspect, advertisement and territory coverage. So for this, I'm going to compare M-Pesa with Elsam, which is basically the market leader in Kyrgyzstan. They started the first and they are supported by a local bank. And I will look at the number of subscribers, percentage of population subscribed, number of agents, and more generally at the rural focus of the approach. So when we compare the number of subscribers, and it's quite natural, there is a far higher number of users of M-Pesa, around 18 million, while Elsam is just reaching 100,000. Looking at percentage of population, 42% for M-Pesa, 1.6 for Elsam. And number of agents, here again, a big difference. However, we could think that 1.6% is not so bad, actually, for an initiative started quite recently. However, what is more, I would say, cause for concern is the focus of the strategy. When we look at the location of the agents of Elsam, actually, a high proportion of them is located in Bishkek, the capital of Kyrgyzstan, and very few are in rural areas. So if you go further and we look at rural focus, so on M-Pesa, there is an excellent rural coverage of the service, while on Elsam side, we see that there is more a urban focus strategy for now. So the location of agents is an indicator, but doing some research, I actually fell upon this website called club.elsam. So it's a website which basically looks like this. So let me explain you what this website is for. Basically, it's an informative website giving details of the shops and restaurants where you can get some discounts if you pay with the Elsam services. So as you notice, it's a service very centered on the, I would say, the wealthy population of the capital, Bishkek. So this was a bit surprising for me. It's actually quite a smart approach if you want to reach the wealthy people of Bishkek, but you will understand it's not rural focused at all. So here again, for this parameter, it's a big question mark. Like right now, definitely there is no big push towards rural areas using this technology. The question is, will it be coming at some point? Is it a short-term strategy is to focus on big cities? What are the plans for the future? Last indicator, regulators. So it is well known for most of the people who have been more or less involved in the M-Pesa story is that one of the key success factors of the initiative is, let's say, the quite laid-back approach of Kenyan government on the initiative, which what basically happened is that the project was actually a defeat-supported project at start, and so quite fast it ended up, when M-Pesa was started, the number of subscriptions has increased very fast, and people were registering with their ID only. So they were registering with their cell phone and started storing money, exchanging money. And it seems the government has been quite laid back and let the service spread very fast. And in addition, as a way to control and make sure there was no too much money laundering, they put daily and monthly transaction limits. In Kyrgyzstan, there has been as well government initiative on mobile wallet, but it has been somehow more restrictive for now, meaning that you need to be a bank to issue and manage mobile money. And in addition to that, there are daily transaction limits. So this, here again, there is a big question mark. What impact will have this regulation on the market? Will it slow down the spread? Will it somehow kill opportunities. Here again, a bit hard to say. So when we look at these key 5 indicators, we see the situation is not, I would say, very clear. There are some good indicators making think that there is a potential, but some others on which big question marks remain. So to go a bit further, I decided to look at more, let's say, contextual parameters like regional specificities comparing Kyrgyzstan and Kenya. So I looked at remittances from city to countryside, which is known as having been quite a push for the M-Pesa initiative. I looked at the distance and road infrastructure. I looked at the risk of theft, and I looked at somehow innovation mindset of the people in society. So if we look at remittances, so in Kenya, there is actually a slum of Nairobi with 1 million people out of 5 million for the whole city, which is mainly populated with people coming from the regions to work in the capital and then consequently sending their money back to their families. So on that side, it's a very positive point for Kenya. In Kyrgyzstan, we have a similar type of phenomenon, like people coming from the villages to Bishkek, the main city, working in the suburbs and living in the suburbs and working in the center. So however, in terms of population, it's far less. I mean, to give you an idea, Bishkek, the whole city is 1 million people. So here it's, I would say, a bit less interesting. In terms of distance and road infrastructure, so yes, in Kenya, there are big distances and the roads are not always very good. In Kyrgyzstan, you have high mountains all over the country, no or less traditional money transfer system compared to Kenya, and low infrastructure maintenance. However, there is heritage of USSR, so there are roads which are quite correct, and one of the parameters which somehow plays in favor of accessibility of service is these terminals. I think there are some as well in Kenya. It's this type of terminals which you can use to pay your bills, pay your internet, and any type of other services. And actually in Kyrgyzstan, it's a system which is quite well spread. And we think it may be somehow a system kind of slowing down the spread of the mobile banking technology, knowing that you have one of these in pretty much every corner in the city at least, and you have some as well in rural areas. So this may slow down the spread of the mobile financial technology. So to start as well. Then risk of theft. So it's quite often mentioned as an important parameters for Kenyan users. In Kyrgyzstan, I would say the risk is lower. I mean, if you are a small shopkeepers, you are not so scared about bringing your money around. And the last parameter is innovation mindset. So in Kenya, it's quite high. In Kyrgyzstan, it's quite good. It's a former USSR country, which sometimes I would say decrease the innovation spirit of people, but overall, Kyrgyz entrepreneurs are quite open to new technologies. So if we make a total, we have a 10/12 for Kenya and 7/12 for Kyrgyzstan. So to conclude, a small summary, and let's try to answer our initial question. So there are some minus and some plus. So on the plus side, it seems the need is real because there is a very low level of financial inclusion in Kyrgyzstan, and because there are a lot of remittances and people migrating from rural areas to come work in the main cities. And there is an excellent mobile penetration, perhaps even better than what you can find in Kenya. On the minus side, I would say the market setup is not the best yet. You have 4 independent companies with 4 independent services, which are not compatible with each other. And for the timing, they pretty much have a marketing focused in the capital. And then we have a big question mark, which is how will regulation impact the spread of technology? Or looking at the regulation which have been passed, if we want to rephrase is, can banks efficiently push the effort? We saw that for M-Pesa, one of the key success factors was the fact that it was pushed by a telecommunication company, meaning people who already had agents selling credits for their services, while the banks don't have such a deep network, such a well-present network over the country. So this will be it for me. What I propose you now is to have a small Q&A session where you could perhaps add some comments to the presentation, share some questions, and if you have some experiences in other countries in Africa or any other region of successful mobile wallet, and we can kind of cross our experience, it would be really good to do it now. Thank you.